Thank you to all our speakers today. Thank you to everybody who's come and decided to come and listen. We're really excited. This is our first supplier webinar. We hope to use today to talk about how I think it's about understanding and how to unlock surplus within your own organisations and go some way to trying to be able to redistribute it across charity and find ways of sort of repurposing it. I think it's incredibly exciting, and as I say, I'm very pleased that everyone's come along. Us at the Felix project, we see ourselves as incredibly privileged. We're Europe's largest last mile food redistribution charity. From redistributing 6 million meals back in 2019, we redistributed 32 million last year. We want to be able to share that knowledge and experience of working with over 500 suppliers over that time, from across the whole of the food industry, from farm through to wholesaler and everywhere in between, whether that be manufacturing or retail. We work across the whole of the food chain. We have some really interesting and informative speakers from across the food industry today, here to tell us how to minimise disposal costs, reduce environmental liability and unlock the power of your surplus to fight hunger. Today, first up will be Simon, the production manager at Albion Fine Foods. He'll be talking about how to weave better corporate social responsibility into your waste management. Keith, the chairman at Western International Market, will be talking about getting started, how a large wholesale market successfully tackled rising waste disposal costs. Amirah, head of impact at Vibrant, will be talking about how to unlock the potential of specialist ingredients. And Laurence, the founder of Lewisham Donation Hub, will be talking to us about where the food we rescue goes. We will have a Q&A afterwards. Feel free to drop any questions into the chat. Also, feel free to drop off, because as I say, we're aware we're asking for an hour and a half. We'll put the Q&A at the end, and we'll share out the video and you can review again later afterwards. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Simon Barnard, production manager at Albion Fine Foods.
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, Albion Fine Foods, we are a company that supplies to the catering trade right across the board, very much like Keith Ward does. We supply just about everything you could think of, apart from raw fish, which we obviously might do in the future. And this would can go to anything, to fine dining restaurants, hotels, pubs, clubs, schools, basically anybody. We've got a lot of customers. We've got over 20,000 different ingredients that we will use on a daily basis. I run the production part of the business, which is a company which does added value. So basically what we'll do is we sell a lot of large volume products, like 25 kilo sacks, 10 kilo boxes of product, and we will break them down into more manageable sized packaging, which the customers are happier with. Our experience these days, there's not as much room, store cupboards in store areas, so they're happy to have 50 different products with 1 or 2 kilo bags rather than trying to squeeze in 10 kilo boxes. So we sort of we have a lot of stock. I was watching Children in Need and with my wife, and there was a fantastic piece that came on that about Felix project, and it really struck home. You know, nobody realized, you know, when we had a conversation here the next day about how bad things were for people. So we looked at our food waste and we looked at what we could do. And at the time, we were literally just putting everything in a food waste bin and just sending it off to wherever it was going to go, whether it was going to be to pet food or landfill or whatever. And we didn't really think about what we could possibly do. So we talked about it. We contacted the Felix project, and it's been brilliant. The fact that we were told that the food that we donated went towards 200 primary school meals, you know, it's just amazing. And it's given everybody in the business now understands about the Felix project and about what is possible. So we're obviously, nobody likes to throw food away, nobody likes to have out-of-date food, but at least now we know when it comes to the end of its shelf life or near to the end of its shelf life, we can use it and put it to some good use. It's just been so good for us anyway. And off the back of that, we have a lot of raw meat, and some of it, which unfortunately does go out of date. We're now supplying some local animal sanctuaries with raw meat for which they, are crying out for. So our parent company is a company called Vesti Foods, and they are really obviously following this very closely, very interested in what we're doing with this, with a view to using other parts of the business to also help, to continue the work that we're doing now. And it's just, it's been very uplifting, I have to say. It's a great feeling. And we just know, that what we're doing is doing some good, and which, is a nice place to be.
Thanks, Simon. That's really kind. And it's great to see that you're looking to sort of expand it out to different areas of the organisation as well. I think that's really nice to hear. I'll hand us over to Keith now, our chairman at Western International Market.
Keith Ward, and I'm the chairman of the Western International Market Tenants Association. We're a major fruit and veg wholesaler based in South West London, close to Heathrow, close to the M4, so absolutely perfect for suppliers to bring goods to us and for us to support the west of London, the greater London, the north, the trucks coming from the north to collect from us because of our proximity to Heathrow. The other major markets in London as well, and I would say that we're probably the third largest in London, based on what my colleagues in the other markets have said to me. But we started, and just to get a little bit of background to the market has been around from the history that I've gone through is since about the 1300s. And it was originally based in Brentford, and was based on a site near the Kew Bridge, and from about 1893 it was based there, and then in 1974 it relocated to Southall, and in 2008 we moved two doors away, still in Southall, but it changed the style of the market, upgraded the market, etc. And the tenants in the market, approximately 60 tenants traders in the market. All independent, and the reason I say 60, there's probably about 100 units in the market, but some of the traders are multiple units, 4 or 5 units, some of them got 1, etc., etc. The diversity amongst the traders is across the spectrum. The diversity in the produce is across the world. And the customers that come into the market are reflect exactly the same thing as well. A few years back, we were contacted by a Felix project, as well as another charity. And again, we've been continually approached by lots of local charities and schools, and we allow them to come into the market as long as they're not picking and under supervision, then it's fine, etc. Initially, it didn't work very well with the two major charities, mainly, I think, personally, because I think the communication between the people on the ground, that's the traders, the management teams, etc., didn't really get together and make it happen. Fortunately, in about the first quarter of 2023, the current management of Felix project approached us again through the market management and the London Borough of Hounslow, who are the owners of the site, and therefore in control of majority of everything. We have a massively good relationship with them, between the Tenants Association and themselves. We meet once a month, and they referred them Felix project to myself, and I sat together with the market team as well and set up a facility for them to operate within the market. We provided office space for them. We've provided parking for them. We've provided free access into the market because normally suppliers pay annual buying fees, etc., to come into the market. They have free access into the market as well, and support them as much as possible. We then contacted the tenants by email, by word of mouth, and told them what we were doing, what a good thing it would be for everybody to do, etc., and to get involved. And the key behind it, more than anything else, is the interaction on the ground floor between the Felix project staff and the tenants and traders and their staff, because that's where it really happens. And if you don't teach them the job correctly, everything will go in the bin, including the kitchen sink. And you've got to, and the guys that are there are amazing in the spirit that they've created in the market as well. The other thing about providing them with the tenants, etc., is not just the education, but also educating the tenants themselves, their staff, when they know that there's going to be waste, and to make sure that the waste is absolutely packed correctly. So to try and reduce the contamination of fruit and veg, because it's so easy to get a pallet full of raspberries that are going off but are still maybe edible, and then for them to dump the whole thing, cartons and plastic and everything in the bin. So we had to change that whole process to try and ensure that that doesn't happen. And also for them to understand that if they think something's going wrong, contact the Felix project guy on the ground and he'll come and see you. And they walked around with them to every single tenant. They become like friends. You can walk in there and see them sitting having a chat and a coffee and a chin wag. And they've arranged within every single unit in the place a specific area where the goods that they think is still edible and can be used is set aside so that they can come around. What they didn't want to happen is, so you understand as well, the market runs from about 10 at night to about 10 o'clock the next morning. So it's a night market. And 99% of it is companies, businesses, etc., not the locals coming in just to come and walk around, etc., and buy anything. And it gets very, very busy during the night. Between the hours of 1 and about 4 o'clock in the morning, you can't move inside the place. So it was important that Felix, whilst they're collecting, didn't interfere with the normal trading, etc. So don't come and ask me for a produce at 3 o'clock in the morning when I've got 6 or 7 customers around me. Provide a space where I can put it. Send me an email, send me a text, give me a call, and come around at about 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning where it'll be there, and it's a lot quieter, and it can be moved during the course of the morning. And that is really working really well with everybody. To give you an understanding, exactly as was said previously by Simon, is it blew my brain away. It's still blowing my brain away in the amount of good that's coming from waste. From July to May 24, we have supplied approximately 365 tons of fruit and veg to Felix Project. And on their calculations, that's about 868,000 meals that we've done since July last year when we really got this thing going. And when I think of those numbers, and approximately 763 communities throughout London have been called right with blessed with the good that Felix Project is doing. And I preach this word to anybody and everybody that I come across, be it a friend of mine who's retired, or be it a friend of a friend, or somebody at the football stadium, the rugby stadium, the cricket ground. I tell them all about it, and everybody's just amazed at the good work that's being done. I've passed on some of the messages to other wholesalers as well, and with Richard, we're going to try and get them involved in other communities as well. The fact that there's a monetary loss is always going to be. It was always going to be. Now, the monetary loss, and this is where I really come into it, because one of my major projects is to keep our service charge costs down. And the major cost in our service charge is waste and cleaning. And if it's not contaminated, it went to mainly to the aerobic digesters, where that got converted into fuel or fertilizer, etc. But it's the contaminated loss that goes in, that's costing us money, because the other one only costs us the transport, whereas the others, the contaminated, costs us X amount per ton plus the etc. So if we can convert contaminated into edibles as well and provide more to Felix, it will improve Felix's numbers, and it will improve the contribution to the public. And it will reduce the costs as far as the market is concerned. And the fact that that monetary loss is there in any event and it's been converted to good is quite amazing, actually. The other thing that's also important as well, as far as our market is concerned, is that this particular produce that we've given them is only coming from about 30% of the traders in our market. We know it will never be 100% in the market, because there are tenants who buy high value, high quality stuff, dedicated customers on order only, and it ships straight away. And the only time you'll find something where it goes wrong, if there's a glut of produce, and then they'll move it. The others, you really have to work on them, and we are working on them. But if we can convert them, then the numbers will be even more astounding than they are at the moment. So I think what I'm trying to say is it's a fantastic job that I think the traders in our market are doing in providing this to the community. I also think that with continued education as far as the owners and staff is concerned, but more particularly the staff, we can increase the numbers. And if anybody intends or wants to assist them, those are the two areas that I really think that you need to address, is the education of the staff and the owners. And thank you very much. And may the good work continue, Richard. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Keith. Really appreciate it. Appreciate your time. I'm going to hand you over to Amirah, Head of Impact at Vibrant Foods.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amirah, and I'm Head of Impact, or ESG, or Sustainability, whatever you like to call it, at Vibrant Foods. We are kind of a large South Asian foods group. So we are the parent company of several brands. You might be familiar with them. You may not be, but TRS, East End, CoFresh, Foodco, Everest Paneer, kind of across our brands, we sell a wide variety of kind of specialist South Asian ingredients, everything from spices, pulses, different pickles, all sorts of really, really specialist ingredients as well. And that's kind of been one of the really exciting things about working with the Felix project. We kind of, any food bank or local organization or charity, there are often things that they ask for, fresh produce, tomatoes, basic spices, maybe like a garlic powder or something like that. Those are not, we have some of those, but a lot of the products we deal in are not that familiar to many consumers and are quite hard to do a lot with. We sell, like big quantities as well of very specialist ingredients. So, we've been working with the Felix project for about 3 years, and they're a fantastic partner, basically because they will take whatever we can send them and find a home for them, which is really quite amazing. Kind of before we started working with the Felix project, we might have just thrown away a lot of food, maybe given it away, but not necessarily to people or organizations that would have known what to do with it. But since working with the Felix project, we've got a really good system in place, and kind of people across our business, within our supply chain teams and our warehouses, are constantly looking for food that they can save. So if we've got a SKU that isn't selling very well, or that we've got way too much of and we can't get rid of it, and it's basically using up space in a warehouse that we're paying for, we kind of want to get it off our hands as quickly as possible. And the Felix project takes it. If they need to break it down into smaller quantities or identify a specific partner that can use it, they will. It's great. They've got depots across all of London with a lot of different communities. Their Poplar depot in particular is kind of an area with a lot of South Asian consumers. So I think that there are different organizations that know how to work with the ingredients that we sell. So I guess that's kind of, I would have more to say, except the Felix project makes it really, really easy for us to give this to them. So we actually don't do much at all. We kind of will send an email, and sometimes, I think we get piles and piles of product. And I honestly wonder, Rich, what you do with it, or how you find people to take 1 million, liters of Coda water or whatever we're sending you. But it's always really well received, very, very quickly received. Whatever day we want to deliver, whichever depot we want to send it to, whatever quantity, whatever product, as long as it's food, the Felix Project will take it and make good use of it, which is really wonderful. And it's amazing that we're able to reach so many grassroots organizations that we wouldn't be able to have a direct relationship with via the Felix Project. I think internally it just started off as a good way to get stuff off of our hands as quickly as possible without throwing it away. But the partnership has really extended and become something that people internally are super excited about. So people in our team volunteer regularly with the Felix Project. And like I said, in our distribution centers, our warehouse, within our supply chain team, people are often looking for ways to almost save food. If they see something that might, we're also doing a bit of forecasting. If we see something that might, the expiry date is upcoming, but not quite there yet. And we think, we're probably not going to be able to sell all of this before then. Let's get it to the Felix Project kind of quicker than usual. So there's a lot of people across the business really excited about what we're doing and trying to help, and it's kind of really, really good for internal morale. And obviously, there's the obvious, we're not throwing away food that we don't need to, but also internally people feel good about the way that we're running our business and the fact that we're reducing our waste. And I guess that's what I have to say at the moment, unless there are questions that come up later, or if you think I've forgotten something, Rich.
No, that's great, Amirah. Thank you so much. And to answer your question a little, I think Laurence on here, who speaks after me in a moment, will be able to go some way to explaining what we do with all that food. And I can also see Bev on the call, who's popped a note in. I spent an amazing day with last Friday at the Black Prince Trust, just looking at what they do with our food. And they do some really, it's not just on us, it sometimes is about what the charities, or always is about what the charities that we work with do as well. They break it down, they change it, they turn it into stuff, they cook things. It's incredibly eye-opening. Thanks, Amirah.
Thanks, Bev. Nice to see that the spices cause great excitement. That's great. See, that's what you call real value, if everyone's benefiting.
For sure. Thank you. So I'm going to talk to you a little at the moment just about some of the logistical, I try not to use the word challenges, but some of the logistical obstacles that we've had to overcome over time. So I've got a few examples here I'd like to talk through. And then I will hand you over to Laurence to just talk a little bit about where that food goes and what they do as a partner to the Felix Project. So I think one thing about logistics is that with surplus food, logistics is always very, very much very, very close next on the agenda upon any discussion. Now that could mean that we're talking about moving it, relabeling it, storing it, but whatever happens, I always say that logistics is the key to unlocking surplus food from anywhere across the supply chain, whether it be a farm, and anywhere else along that food chain. We've had a few instances, I think a couple of interesting ones, 4 weeks or 6 weeks, I think it was, before Christmas last year. Our busiest time of the year, December just last year, was our busiest month we've ever had here at Felix. We were offered 700 pallets of luckily ambient food. We managed to find space for those pallets across some of our London-based partners, whether that be suppliers, hauliers, and our own depots. In our own depots, we have nearly 1,000 pallet spaces for ambient across the 4 sites. So we managed to get that food in, get it stored, and most importantly, have it available to us in January. As I say, we've got a lot of fresh food around us in December, but come January, it can be tight, and that's when ambient food plays its part. So that was one of the big sort of, especially numbers-wise, 700 pallets is a large footprint, but we did manage to get that food rescued and back out within sort of by the end of February in this year, 2024. Most recently, actually, we were offered 26 pallets of rice, along with pasta, and oil, the hardest things for us to come by. And from our charities, we understand that same for them. They're always needing the last of them. They're the base of so many different meals, and for our own kitchen as well. The thing with those 26 pallets, though, they're all unlabelled and they're in pack sizes of 25 kilograms, not to mention being frozen. So lots of different challenges within that. Luckily, again, we have lots of freezer space off the back of some King's funding we got last year, and so have our charities now as well. We already have special frozen labels where we can label food up. So a PDF from the supplier with all the information on it meant we were able to relabel that food up, get the rice into our freezers, get it back out in smaller quantities. Some of it will go to some of it's already gone to our kitchen, more of it will do so as well. But also we'll try and repackage some of that, and we'll try and get it into smaller quantities to get it out to some of our smaller charities who need this food as much as anyone. Next up, I'd just like to touch back to what Keith was saying. I think our work at Western International Market has been nothing short of incredible. The support we've had from the team on site there has been second to none, and I say that in a way that it's a very different model to the rest of the things we do. Broadly speaking, we turn up at our suppliers and we collect food. We may do it in our green vans, we may do it by haulage, lots of different ways our suppliers may deliver that food direct to us. But in Western International Market, we really feel like part of the team. We got 2 Felix employees on site, we got volunteers on site, corporate volunteers, Felix volunteers. It's a game changer, and I think it's just made such a difference. The food doesn't just stay in West London either. If we happen to get some onions, we're always short of onions in our kitchen. We find any way to get them over to our kitchen, and then they're impacting making the 5,000 meals we make out of our kitchen every single day of the week. It's a really big thing. As I say, it's a bit different. We've got staff on site, we've got a van on site, hauliers turning up, and we were talking about numbers earlier, so we're just coming up to a year's anniversary at the market, which we're incredibly excited about. We've gone to 6 days, which is increased volume again, and we're nearing 1 million meals, so it's a huge contribution in just a year. Yeah, a big thank you to Keith and the team. But I think that does illustrate how we can flex and change and do different things outside of what we usually do, and embed ourselves in that market. And we really, whenever I visit, I always feel like I'm part of the team, and I think we can replicate that, and we can do that in other places. We can come out of our norm and make a difference. Okay, I'm gonna hand you over to Laurence now, and he's going to talk a little bit about what it's like from a charity's perspective, working with Felix, and where the food goes that we rescue.
Hi, thank you so much to the Felix Project for inviting me to speak on behalf of charities. We spend a lot of time every week thanking Felix for doing what they do for us. We were very much an accident of the pandemic. The Lewisham Council provided a space for us to try and better support the hospital with excess food. That space has since become, as far as we're aware, London's only multi-bank. The map that you see on the screen right now, that's some of the 26,000 support instances that we had last year. Although we've had to reduce our geography in recent weeks just because of the pressure, last year we were seeing people come from as far as Manchester to come and get the support that we provide. Now, much of that support is for household. It's to provide emergency assistance to people that are in the most desperate of situations. But for us, this project began with food, and everything we do begins with food, because there are so many people in our community that are struggling immensely. Although we open for 3 days a week, we help people pretty much every day. Just over the last weekend, we had 6 homeless people coming to us for support. 2 of those were suicidal. The ability that we have to help them is profound, and it's we feel very privileged to be in this position to help. We've been going for 4.5 years now. The majority of that time it's been voluntary. For myself, it's been 4 years unpaid. And we do it because we see the profound impact that it has on the people that visit us. For much of that time, sorry, I've somehow managed to dodge for the entire pandemic using Teams. So I'm getting the hang of presenting through this. But for much of those last 4 years, we've had Felix very much by our side. It's interesting listening to the comments that have been said around the King's Fund. We actually have one of the 600-litre freezers that they provided to us. We've actually got 20 plus fridges and freezers now, which sometimes still isn't enough to accommodate all of the food that does come to us. But that is incredibly fortunate because we see for food, 210 households a week, and for our wider service, another 140. It is a 7-day-a-week project. It's something that we do with love and with passion. But we are fully aware that without the Felix project, the enormous numbers of people that we support in this community simply would not have had that support. Although there's many food banks across our borough, we're the only one to be open 3 days a week. And we're the only one of those that are open 3 days a week to provide fresh and frozen food. I love hearing the passion of many of you speaking. You probably don't get to see the true benefit and the true impact of the enormous service that you're providing to society by giving. Some of you, your businesses are incurring a cost to do that. For those of us on the front line, our profound thanks. I know the Asian food that you provide. If it went in the to a provider that didn't know what to do with it, then it probably wouldn't have the benefit that it does with places like ours. The Felix project is incredibly thoughtful about where it shares food, and for our service in particular, it's powered by volunteers from around the world, and it is also visited by people from around the world. So those unique Asian foods are an enormous benefit to us. One thing that I've come to realize over these last 4.5 years is that hardship in our community is incredibly embedded, and it's also very, very easy to never see it. For those first couple of years of this project, much of that involved driving around in a van, picking things up from houses and families that had excess and taking it to places where there was nothing. Whilst there's thousands and thousands of stories we could focus on, this one always springs to mind. This video here is the accommodation provided to a domestic violence survivor. She came to her father when she was 15, abused by her father, and then taken into care. This was the accommodation given to her after that point. She came to us to collect food. If we weren't able to provide that food, we would never have got the insight that we did into this situation. All of the things that you see in that video right there were provided by us. The mattress that you saw, that's what she was sleeping on, using just a jacket to stay warm. Over the course of a week, we transformed her life. And a couple of years later, I was in Argos collecting Wi-Fi adapters for the computers that we share, and I had a tap on the shoulder, and it was her. She'd just qualified as a nurse. She almost lost her place in Greenwich University because she'd only been here 4.5 years, and the student finance wouldn't fund it. So we objected to Greenwich University, and they agreed to keep her in place. And because of that support, she is now in the NHS. She's not the only person that's in that situation. Now, without that food, she wouldn't have had reason to come here in the first place. Without that food, we wouldn't have been able to provide that immediate support. And without that food, we wouldn't have been able to highlight all of the other things that we do. Now, I know the Felix project is looking to push the multi-bank model. We see the enormous benefit of providing that. Those who visited us in the pandemic, many of them are now donating to us. They got the stability they needed with the bedding, the electricals, all the things that we provide that can turn an empty place into a home. And through the computers, which Felix projects have actually shared to us as well, that really transforms people's people's futures. So for us, it is a privilege to be able to share the food that we do and to be able to get the insight into the horrible and unconscionable lives that people have to live. but also our ability to change that. Things like this that are on screen, this is a very regular thing for us. There are so many people drifting into homelessness, but again, we can be there. And we can be there because businesses like yours support the Felix Project, who support charities like ours all across the UK. One thing that I know we've had problems with in the past is trying to justify why people should help us. You know, some people have that opinion that people are in hardship for reasons of their own making. Regardless of why somebody's in hardship, the impact of people not having food impacts us all. I'm sure we all dearly love the NHS here, but the cost of the NHS, it costs about a fifth of their budget to look after people who come in malnourished. Now, we normally have about 1,500 meals here, at least from the Felix Project at any one time. That gives us the capacity to support out of hours. We had it at the weekend where a family came here with their children and they were in a desperate situation. We provided the guidance about how to improve that, but we also provided the food to allow them to come to our service. You might hear some ambient noise right now. We're actually at the tail end of helping 70 households today. This to me is my normal ambient noise. We love the opportunity we get to help, but it is exhausting. And many times we turn to the Felix Project hoping they can dig us out of a hole, and every single time they do. And just before this call, I had a call from the Felix Project asking if they would, if it would be helpful for some additional satsumas and bananas. That might come from, I think it was Keith at the fruit exchange. So you might just be helping us tomorrow to help our visitors. Whilst there are an enormous number of stories we could focus on, I think what is really important is to remind people of the pandemic, of the fact that so many people drifted into situations not of their choosing. That still happens today. For many people, the pandemic hasn't stopped. There are so many gaping holes in the social welfare system. We fight against it tirelessly. We've got some really good contacts at Lewisham Council and have helped many people into housing. Kerry's story is an example of how somebody living and doing everything she can to stay stable can be ripped apart by an inconsiderate employer. She had to go to our food bank for the first time. She is one of 10 plus new people that we see every single day. And that has been a relentless increase for us. It is really difficult to sustain what we do, but again, with ever more support, we know that we can be there. And it's really important to also know that in London in particular, there are 1 in 51 households are now considered homeless, whether that is on the streets or living between temporary accommodation. We have seen the impact that that has on families when they're pushed into boroughs that they don't know, they can't get to work, they have to spend additional money on nurseries or on transport. And all of these things drain people's ability to weather the cost of living crisis. So it really does mean a lot to have these services dotted around London that can be there for people, hopefully until times might just get better. We live in hope here. And the other imperative for us, we have 2 objectives at our charity. One is to help people in hardship, and one is to try and arrest the environmental degradation that is destabilizing the world. We see in businesses so much waste. There's a place that supports us, but they were providing nutritious food each evening and they stopped it for reasons unknown. And it just frustrates us because there is not only a huge amount of need out there, but there is also an imperative for all of us, whether you've got children or not, to try and do more to protect the natural world. All of that food that you are creating, if it does go to waste, there is probably a part of the world that has been impacted, whether it's through forest loss or who knows. But the reality is, if we can do more to share, then we not only help our community, but we also help the world upon which we depend. And one of the benefits of our model, we try to take as much as we can in the form of donations is that it brings us into contact with places like University College London. We also reference the Felix project, who have given us computers. We've shared over 3,500 now. We share so much, and all of it would likely have gone to recycling. Probably not the Felix project because they are very much environmentally minded, but we know that UCL didn't have an outlet for these things. So it's just a reminder that even if your business can't help with food, there is probably something you can help with that will fundamentally transform someone's life out there. And the other thing to note is that when your businesses support places like this, we not only get to have insight into the trauma that people are enduring, but we actually get to do something about it. This picture on the left is Ellie Reeves, our MP. She was highlighting the abuse of Afghan refugees, which we discovered by delivering aid to hotels across London in the Afghan crisis. The story on the right is two men that were evicted from Lewisham Hospital into -5 conditions. They almost lost their lives across the street from us. That food that Felix provided to us, and the hot space that we had for them, over the course of 8 hours, we managed to bring them back. And over the course of 3 days, we managed to get them into accommodation. And we successfully campaigned to change that policy so it will never happen again. I'm sure the people on this call are maybe not everybody, but most people are in a comfortable situation. But what is important to know is that the people that we're helping, most of them would never have chosen this path. It is just their reality, and we can do something about it, and we can see the transformative impact of support like yours. And all of that help that you provide us helps to give us a platform where we can try and inspire our country to do better for the people facing hardship. And we're on the BBC cost of living crisis. We've been in multiple places before. But I think the summary of what I'm trying to say is that what you give to the Felix project is transformative. It helps to truly and profoundly improve lives. It helps to give opportunity where there wasn't any before. And yeah, it's really nice to listen into the reasons why you have decided to give, because it sounds like you're really going above and beyond to do that and to support Felix, and in turn to support charities like ours. So yeah, on behalf of this charity, our 280 volunteers and the 26,000 people that we help every year, thank you for being at Felix's side.
Thanks, Laurence. Really appreciate your words. It's good to see the impact of everybody's work, I think, and you're doing an incredible job. You can all see that. I think we're now going to have a bit of a Q&A. I'm not sure there's many in the actual chat, but I think if we focus on the speakers on the screen, perhaps, if anyone's got any questions.
I've got one.
Okay, so.
Laurence, how do you keep it together?
Funnily enough, one of the people on this chat right now is Rebecca. She has been one of our general support coordinators for quite a while now. She sees the stress and the strain of this place. We're at the Peckham protest recently, taking 3 of our volunteers who are asylum seekers out of accommodation to stop them being transferred to the Bibi Stockholm and potentially to Rwanda. That actually destroyed the entire break that we had last time. We're actually on a break right now, but we still provide food support. It is exhausting. It's been terrible for my hairline. It's been, yeah, if I would never change what we've done, and I would never change the energy that we've put into making this work. It is a unique service. We don't have many external supporters. We have a lot of people in the community that sustain us with enormous donations. So yeah, I'm proud to represent the volunteers that are here and to give those volunteers a real chance to shine. But yeah, it's exhausting. I think this place might be probably more exhausting than most because we do try to do so much, but we do that because when you see the people that come here and you see the transformation that can happen just by being there for them, it energizes you, even if you do feel exhausted at the end of the day.
Just brilliant. Well done.
Laurence, on the supply side, is there any particular items that you miss out on a lot? Is my rice oil type of thing a good call, or is there anything else that you see a lack of from us particularly?
We understand that things are seasonal, so sometimes it's courgette season, which I dread, but sometimes it's banana season. We understand that, and to be honest, from a climate's perspective, that seasonality isn't necessarily a bad thing. But what we really struggle with, and I think most charities struggle with, is that non-perishable side. It is that rice, it's that cooking oil. We spend, I think, about £500 a week on the non-perishable foods. We spend another £500-600 every 2 weeks on toiletries and things like that. It's these things that give families the chance to cook at home in a cost-effective way. And it's also things like toiletries. When somebody comes to us and they're in a desperate situation, but they potentially have a job interview, well, they can come to us, they can get the shoes, they can get the clothes, they can get the toiletries, they can get the food, they can get the smartphone that will allow them to interact with universal credit. But really, from a food provider perspective, non-perishables are the biggest challenge, but we don't expect that to change because they're also the things that, don't have that time limit on them. So yeah, we'll continue to do all we can to fundraise, but we'll always be appreciative of the enormous amount of support that you give to us and to others, because it really, really does make that huge impact. And it feels so good to be able to turn somebody's life around almost immediately.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're right. There will always be gaps by the very nature of it, and the more seasonal we become, hopefully, as a country, that will happen. But we will be replaced by other things. And I think when you mentioned multi-bank earlier, I think that's really interesting. So that outlay you currently have on toiletries potentially gets replaced, and then you have a little bit more in the pot for the rice, oil, etc. So yeah, I think this is a really important point, I think. I did have something for Simon, actually, because Simon is our newest supplier we've onboarded. So I should have prepped him for this, actually. But I just wanted to talk about the onboarding process, really, and how you found it, Simon, with us. I know that the team have loved working with you already. I've seen pictures of Amy in particular with the eagle. Is it the eagle in the...
Yeah.
I know they had a lovely day down with you, and we always try and get to our suppliers to sort of, especially the early days, get down, say hi, talk to you a little bit about what we do. But I just wanted you to talk a little bit about what that onboarding process was. Hopefully it was relatively easy and the logistical solution we put in place is working okay.
I mean, absolutely. We really weren't sure how it was going to work. We knew that we had a resource that we could do something with and really create some fantastic value, but we really weren't sure. But literally from the minute I passed it on to our HR manager, Nikki, she made from the first phone call, she came to me and was excited. The fact that it was so simple was literally, I think it was day one we called you, I think day 3, and we're making plans for that pickup for that week. It was great, and it was just so nice to see everything and everybody. It was, I don't know, everybody just really got together. They realized what was possible, and we had people from all areas, people that we would never thought would ever get interested or give this the time that it needed, were getting involved and saying, look, we've got this, we've got that, can we use this? We've got a designated area, we've got 2 designated areas now, one in the fridge and one in the Albion, where we literally put stock, and people are putting stuff there all the time. And regards your rice, Laurence, my next step after this is, I'm pretty sure I've got at least a ton of basmati rice that we can put on the next load. So absolutely, we do a lot of the Albion products here, and they do get close to shelf life. I know, we buy in huge volume a lot of our products. If you look at things like chickpeas, we will probably buy about 30 or 40 pallets of those at a time. They come in, and you can't always guarantee if they're going to go out in the time that that you have. So that's something else that we'll keep a closer eye on, because You know, I know it's a cost, as Keith said earlier, it's a cost, but you know, it's something that we can, you know, that we've really enjoyed. But say, the guys at Felix have been brilliant. The drivers that come and pick it up are so nice. You know, it's so organised. You know, we get plenty of warning about when you're coming. When you say you're going to be here, you're here, and you load it up and on your way, and we start collecting the next one.
Could I just add quickly to that about the non-perishables? Richard, when either you or I'm in the market next week, give me a shot, because we've got 2 major cash and carries in our market as well that only deal in perishables, and I'm reasonably certain they're not contributing at the moment. So I'm pretty certain I'll have a conversation when I'm back in the office next week, and then I'll have a chat with them as well. Give me a call as well. Okay, thanks.
I was just going to say, because I know that we've had the Felix project ask us before if we can work with you to better highlight, you know, where the food goes to. But I think quite a few of you are London based, and just to say that if you ever want to come and visit and see what we do and see, you might even see the food that you share being shared here, but you will get to really feel what it is that drives a place like this and what drives all of those charities across the UK. I mean, the reality is none of this should be necessary. The sharing of excess food should be something that we do, but that it isn't needed so much. But you know, we love showing people around. We love showing people what you can do when you share more, and when you just think about everything. When you think, I have an old smartphone. What benefit can this be to somebody else? Instead of, I've got an old smartphone, I'm going to put it in the drawer. You know, a place like this really transforms your view of what waste really is, because in reality, if you bought something, it's going to have some benefit to somebody else, and it could transform somebody's life. But I guess it's more to say that if ever any of you want to come and see where your produce goes, then you're very welcome to come here. And if you want to see what we do, if you go on Facebook and look up Lewisham Donation Hub, then you will see our very long and exhausting, but quite uplifting story.
So Sally, our multi-bank, which officially actually launched today, but we have been working in the background on it for the last 3 or 4 months. It's non-food. It's things like it could be bedding, could be toiletries, anything that's not food, and in essence it should be there. It will feed into all of our depots as time goes on, and it will fill gaps. We're very busy at the moment. It might quieten down in a couple of months, January in particular. So if we can keep filling those crates up, even if it's not with food, then hopefully, like sort of Laurence alluded to earlier, they can use the funds they do have for the food while we're replacing the toiletries. So it's that sort of thing, Sally. Hopefully that answers your question. Are you there now, Bev? I think you are.
I am, yeah. I think I've been unmuted. I just want to second what Laurence is saying, and not on quite such a large scale that Laurence is working, but I was supposed to start a project at the beginning of 2020 combating isolation, and on my start date we went into lockdown, so I failed there. But the food that comes from the Felix project to our site, we're lucky. We're a sports hub in Southeast 11, and we're really lucky. We've got a huge car park, and we're right in the middle of a really deprived estate, and we satellite out. And Keith, I just want to say thank you to you, because we have had stuff come direct from the market to our place, and we've got a couple of volunteers that live on the estate, and so that vehicles can get in and out, our volunteers will open that gate at, I think the earliest is 4:45 in the morning, that one of the residents is just, whenever someone says they'll drive by, or a lorry will come or a van will come, there is someone who will open that gate and take that food in. And then, like Laurence said about the phones, we give people phones and SIM cards, because otherwise we can't get the message to them that we've got food. So, you know, that's how we share messages out. You know, we've got people who walk in past the congestion zones, so they don't have to pay that with trolleys. We've got disabled people who drive in and then drive out to smaller groups. School parents will take fruit around. Honestly, every single thing. If you think you've got half a box of apples or something that's on the turn, it'll get taken, it'll get cooked. You know, when we've been swimming in plums, they get turned into jam. Every single thing will get used and means something. If you think you've got a couple of oranges, one family whose kids have no fruit, that's really important. So just thank you, just massive thank you to every single one of you.
Thanks, Beth. So I did have just one question, just from a bit of an operational perspective from Keith, really. I think we consider the volumes. Obviously, you're now one of our largest contributors. I think it's really interesting over the last 3 months. I think we moved to sort of 6 days a week, but then we saw the volumes start creeping up, and I was just wondering whether that was sort of longevity, having been on the site for some time with you there, or a bit of going to the 6 days, or is some of it seasonality, or do you think it's a mixture of all? I find it always interesting when we start going to suppliers that we work with regularly, as well as being on site with you, that inevitably supplies do increase.
Okay, it's a mixture of all of them, but the main reason at the moment is the seasonality. So it's the soft fruit season, it's the watermelon season, it's every single one of those together. And then and in the last month or two, you get a situation where you've got the Spanish season coming to an end and the Moroccan season coming to an end. And then they flood the UK market, and then the UK market starting at the same time. And that comes into the market as well. So the volumes are increasing to the extent that even some of the high quality traders have had pallets of goods to give to you for the first time ever, because it's just been too much. And also you'll see that in this period now, from it normally would have been May, but it's now sort of June running through to about August, September. For a lot of the traders, this is their do or die period. This season, they make as much money as possible in this season to get them through the other season, because the popularity of their produce is not the same. So it's seasonality. It's the 6 days as well, which adds to it, because sometimes the Saturday the goods will not last until the Monday or the Sunday night when you're back in again. And so it's a 6-day market. It's as simple as that. So if you want to benefit from it all, you've got to be there 6 days a week.
Yeah, no, it's proved really beneficial being there the all days.
Yeah, well, I've looked at the stats as myself, of the market as a whole over the last 2 months, and whilst your stats are going up in what you're collecting, the waste in the market is also going up. In addition to that, so if I had to extract yours out of the total waste, you look at it, the balance, there's an imbalance somewhere. And I've had a conversation with the market manager and the cleaning staff to give me some sort of an idea as to who, what, how much, etc. of it's coming through to them to be sent to either to digesters or to landfills, to see if we can identify that and try and stop that from happening as well. Because theoretically, even though the produce is going up and yours is going up, the produce shouldn't have a waste factor that doesn't get to you, that also going up. It just doesn't add up.
No, that makes sense. And if we can support on that front, I mean, the team on site will happily sit down, go through the stats, or even sort of another walk around. That's great. Hannah, did I see your hand up?
Amirah spoke about it a little bit, but I think it would be nice, when you spoke to me, you talked about the kind of the human benefit within the staff that was quite unexpected. And I know a lot of the audience on this call aren't necessarily consumer facing brands. So yeah, I don't know whether it would be worth you just expanding on how that helps with kind of staff motivation, or kind of the unexpected motivations around charity partnership like this.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to that. So I think, even though I work in impact and have managed nonprofit partnerships and things before, it's still always so impactful to hear directly from, someone like Laurence, or even the people that your organization, Laurence, is serving. And that translation does get lost, right? When you're working with an organization like the Felix Project, which is doing food redistribution, you're like an efficient operation, but we don't get as much view into the end impacts. That being said, having our team come and volunteer with you, see the food being packed up, seeing your volunteer base, understanding and seeing like the food then going out to different organizations. We've had a couple of people in the warehouse doing picking lists and things. It only takes we've only had, you know, as a proportion of our organization, a small number of people come and work with you directly, but they go back and they talk, and it changes totally the dynamic of people within our organization and their approach to kind of rescuing food. They're not, you know, literally doing it, but like identifying within the system stuff that we can give you. There is this it's just nice to know that the food is having an impact. And obviously, in theory, the steps are the same. Whether you're organizing a delivery of surplus food to a landfill or a digester, or, you know, like an incinerator, or to the Felix project, you're still kind of getting it all in a truck and putting it in a delivery location. But having people understand where it's going and what it means and what it then does totally changes the dynamic and the kind of incentive for people to do that. And so I think we don't produce a lot of food waste. Our products have quite a long shelf life, and then when we have surplus, often sometimes it's expired or stock that's close to its best before date. Other times it's just a surplus of stuff that we can't necessarily get off our hands as quick as we'd like. It does mostly go to you, but there are still pockets where it's just like, oh, we'll just send this off. Need to get rid of it as quick as possible. So there's still waste that we can rescue internally. And I think like the more connection people have to the end impact, it really does make a difference. So we started really picking up the volunteering this year, or even just sending out emails and pictures of showing our stock. It changes the dynamic internally, and people feel really good about it and excited about it and proud to be making an impact. It's funny because we obviously have warehouses and distribution centers ourselves that people see every day. But then coming and seeing your distribution center where it's all for surplus food, it's a totally different dynamic. You know, it looks pretty similar to what we have on site, but because of the impact it's making is so different, the energy and the excitement that people have when they see that firsthand is different as well.
Just the final thing to add, I don't know whether I touched on it, but one of the other benefits is the volunteering opportunities that it gives to people. Most of our volunteers are seeking asylum in the UK. And given the pretty horrible narrative around most people facing hardship, but especially asylum seekers, we feel so proud to help everybody in our community, principally with those seeking asylum. And I thought, since we've still got some of our volunteers here, I could just bring them in. Yeah, come on in, come and say hello to. This is Sina. Sina's from Syria. Ahmed, you're from Sudan. Anna's from England. Kia from Iran. So where are you from? Iran as well. Sina from Iran. Come on in, Tracy. Come on. We've got Tracy from New Zealand. Where's Nargis? Nargis. I'm just going to introduce one final person who's Nargis, who's she's been volunteering with us for 4 years, but she was also our first paid employee. We did get some national lottery funding amongst others, and this is Nargis, a lovely Nargis Jan. Yes, so for us it's a real privilege to spend our time with amazing people like this, helping our community with all. Oh, and Mahesh. Yes. So anyway, this is a small team because it's just food support, but normally we'd have about 25 or 30 people. So anyway, I'll send them all away again, but I just wanted you to see the other positive impact of sharing. It's that it gives people an opportunity to really demonstrate their skills and to do the most human thing of looking after other people. So thank you for what you give, because it gives us the opportunity to really be there for our community.
Thank you.
That way.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Lovely.
We definitely didn't ask Laurence to do that, by the way.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Totally natural. That's the amazing thing. Thank you. It's so nice to see.
We've got a team of people here that want to help as well, so it won't be long before we're asking to come along to some of the sites and help out.
Yeah, it's so important to see the impact of what you're doing for us. No more questions. So without further ado, I'm just going to thank all of our speakers and thank everybody who's come on and listened. Really appreciate it. We'll I think it's been a huge success, I can tell. We will do these again. Thank you very much to everybody, and a little bit of time back. Thank you very much.